Hi, Ian. Professor Ball here. How's it going? Let's talk about your paper number 3. So I always look at MLA format first, and you have what you need here, and your information here is good. May 3rd, space 2018, and then you have your title, Processed Foods. In today's generation, almost everything we consume has sugar in it. In CBS's news podcast, Is Sugar Toxic? Oh, I see. I think you might have done the wrong one, but let me keep going. Okay. Is Sugar Toxic, hosted by Sanjay Gupta, discusses sugar, processed foods, and how they're related to health issues. A few examples of common processed foods are bread, yogurt, peanut butter, etc. You could just avoid this. It doesn't do anything for you. So, bread, yogurt, and peanut butter. Fructose is a sugar and is naturally found in fruits, which also contains fiber, a very important digestion aid. High fructose corn syrup is a very harmful corn-based sugar that actually leads to a fatty liver disease. It's now at the point where people consume at least 130 pounds of it in a year without realizing it. Researchers and doctors are saying that sugar is toxic and is killing people. They are trying to deliver a message to everyone that they should change the way they eat. Okay, so your intro is fine. I say, uh-oh, because remember I had goofed and uploaded the wrong sample essays. The podcast paper is paper number 4. The news magazine paper is number 3. Now, is CBS's news, Is Sugar Toxic? Is it a video that you watch? Because if that's the case, it's a news magazine clip and not a podcast. In any event, they're basically the same paper, different forms of media. So let's see where you go. So Sanjay Gupta crafts his tone in a variety of ways. This is towards an audience of teens and adults. The phrase he mentions at the beginning from Dr. Robert Lustig probably is, who believes the consumption of added sugar has plunged America... Oh, the phrase he mentions at the beginning from Dr. Robert Lustig, who believes the consumption of added sugar has plunged America into a public health crisis. Fructose is naturally found in fruit, and people would consume small amounts of it. The fruit contains fructose and fiber, which helps digestion. It's early, sorry. Now it is mostly in processed food that we eat, such as sauces, yogurt, bread. No. It became cheaper to make sugar and high fructose corn syrup. People have been eating it a lot more. Dr. Robert Lustig says table sugar and high fructose corn syrup are both equivalently bad and toxic. What he is trying to say is that eating anything with sugar and high fructose corn syrup is very bad for you. Eating it in big portions can cause serious health issues. Fructose is naturally good for you, but when processed it becomes unhealthy. Our brain is wired when tasting something sweet. It's a signal that it is a safe food. Okay, so your point is the tone or the audience. You unfortunately aren't talking about Dr. Lustig's tone. Is he upset? Is he angry? Is he sad? Is he just shocked? And here I do see your explanation, but it needs to connect to your point, which is what this tone adds to the video is that eating anything with sugar and high fructose syrup is bad for you, so maybe it's scary. There are studies showing that eating food with high fructose corn syrup are causing heart disease and strokes. They are backing up Dr. Robert Lustig with his research. So then your point is, another way that Dr. Gupta makes a interesting piece of media is through the use of research. By doing this research, it does a lot of money to do so, period. Kimber Stanhope, a nutritional biologist from UC Davis, was doing this research for about 5 years to come up with the answer she has. She says groups of her research participants, she pays to live in a hospital for weeks at a time, kind of like a 24-hour lockdown. Every calorie they intake is being measured and counted for. For the first few days, they eat low added sugar food so that baseline blood pressure can be measured. When participants ate or drank something that had high fructose corn syrup, the participants had an increase in blood levels of LDL, low density lipoprotein. cholesterol, and risk factors of cardiovascular disease. The results of those changes happen within 2 weeks. All right, so your point is the fact that Sanjay Gupta used Lustig's research. Because really the video, although it's about sugar, it's about how Gupta does his piece. So your explanation is this research is important because, or the use of this research is significant because. Okay, Sanjay mentions that sugar is also a major focus in cancer research. Lewis Cantley is a Harvard professor and the head of Beth Israel Cancer Center, this should be in capitals because this is part of the proper name, says that when we eat or drink sugars, it causes a sudden spike in the hormone insulin. Insulin can cause adverse effects in various varieties of tissues, which his concern is cancer. Every cell in our body needs glucose to survive, but the trouble is that the cancer cells also use it to grow. Lewis Cantley's research team is working on a drug that can keep the cancer cells from growing. He also gives advice not to eat sugar, but if you must, keep it to a minimum. So the writing here is fine, but what is your point? The fact that sugar is a major focus of cancer research? If that's what your point is, then you're not answering the prompt because you're doing a rhetorical analysis of how Gupta makes his case. So he uses Dr. Lustig. He uses research. There's no point here. So another way that Gupta makes his point is through interviewing people who have cancer that they think is linked to sugar. Or he also uses hospital. You don't want to use research because you already did it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, with all the sugar and high fructose corn syrups and processed food, we could receive any one of these major health issues. Fructose is naturally found in fruit. Now we have the sugar base 1 and almost all the food we eat now. I don't know what that means, sugar base 1. Limiting sugar intake can prevent these. There is an issue with processed foods that can cause serious health issues, and there is a need for education. Okay, that's fine. But you're just concluding about the subject matter and not about Gupta's piece. Here you would talk about his use of research and studies, which is kind of, and the tone. So take another look at your conclusion to see how you can better do it. The other thing is it's in the prompt, but it's not in the video, and I pointed that out in a few of my announcements. There was a research component to this where you needed to do a basic research, on what anybody else is saying about sugar. Take a look at another look at the prompt. That is number 6. So your works cited page is not quite right. So what you would have here is Gupta, so the last name, the first name, period. Sugar is toxic. Because it's part of a larger program, it would be in quotation marks. And let's just, I don't know, remember now, but 60 Minutes is the name of the show it came from. This would be in italics, but it's not going to let me do italics. And then the date that you found it, that's good. The URL, that's good. And the date that the date it was published, the URL, and the date you found it. This needs to be tabbed over once to where it goes right underneath the word toxic. Okay? So you can revise one paper this semester, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.